Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, today we'll talk about a problem that everyone has had to deal with at some point, getting along with difficult people. In both our personal and work lives, we will meet people whose actions or attitudes test our ability to be patient and strong. Being able to handle these relationships well can make a big difference in our success and happiness. There are many kinds of difficult people, such as critics, complainers, and people who don't want to work with you. They can drain our energy, make us fight, and stop us from moving forward. We can turn possible problems into chances to grow and make our relationship stronger, though, if we learn how to handle these situations with grace and skill. Come with me as we talk about useful methods and timeless truths for dealing with tough people. We will learn how to stay calm, talk to each other in a confident way, and build bridges instead of walls. By getting good at these skills, we can turn tough situations into good, useful ones. As we start this trip, let's remember that every difficult person gives us a chance to get better at being patient, understanding, and talking to each other. We can not only handle these interactions, but also do well in them if we have the right mindset and tools. This will make our personal and work lives better. Thanks for being here today. Let's learn more about how to deal with tough people so that our relationships can run more smoothly and peacefully. It is a fact of life that dealing with difficult, angry, unpleasant, or negative people can do more to undermine self-confidence in the short term than almost any other experience you can endure. 85% of all the happiness or unhappiness you experience will come from your interactions with other people. It always seems to be people's problems that disrupt our lives, lower our self-esteem, reduce our effectiveness, and distract us from the things in life we really enjoy. In this session, you will learn how to deal with difficult people and how to remain positive and in control, even with the most problematic types of people in the most negative situations. A key skill of all achievers, of all men and women with high levels of self-confidence and self-esteem, is that they know within themselves that they can function effectively with a wide variety of people and personalities. One way to measure your self-esteem is to see how many different kinds of people you can get along with. Normal or stable people are easy to get along with, but the real test of how far you've come is when you can balance different hobbies and get along with a huge range of unusual and complex people. Understanding how to deal with tough people is an important personality trait that can help you reach your goals more quickly and go further. Even if you get along with everyone at work, you will often have to deal with difficult people. Some people have problems with just one more person, though, and that can ruin everything else they do. We're very affected by what other people say and do. So one problem with someone else can make us sad and worried for the whole day. It's easy to get distracted and less productive at work if you don't get along with a boss, a subordinate, a partner, or someone else you have to work with. Like when someone doesn't get along with their boss, that's the worst time to be at work. Whenever you experience friction between you and your boss, you tend to be worried most of the time and think about your situation continuously. Even when you're not at work, you take it home, and it affects your family relationships. It can affect your sleep and your health, and this is because your self-image and self-esteem are largely determined by how those who are important to you and whom you respect treat you. When your boss or an important coworker seems unhappy with you for any reason, it can overshadow your entire life. If you work in sales, a rude customer or potential client can really affect your self-confidence and happiness with your job. Dealing with difficult customers regularly can often make you think about changing fields, and many people do. If you own your own business or hold a managerial position in your company, you'll often have to deal with difficult bankers and suppliers. If your banker is angry with you or dissatisfied with you and your business for any reason, it can make your life miserable. Smart and successful people are those who do everything they can to ensure their relationships with their bankers are top-notch. And at the first sign of trouble, they act immediately to resolve any issue or misunderstanding that may arise. At home and in your personal relationships, there will always be friction and room for misunderstandings. As an expert in human relations, one of your tasks is to ensure harmony and happiness in your relationships with others. And this often involves settling arguments and resolving problems. Sometimes it is even difficult to get along with the kindest people. And your job is to keep this in mind while you work to untangle a difficult human situation or smooth things over. As a consultant and trainer for many companies, I am surprised by the number of people who are hindered from happiness and achievement in their lives and careers by their unwillingness to deal constructively and directly with the problematic people in their lives. Shakespeare suggests that we take arms against a sea of troubles and, by opposing, end them. When you have a problem with people, the answer is to attack it directly. In a recent study of managers and employees, everyone was given a simple test and asked how they would or prefer to be treated if they were doing or saying something or causing a problem that offended or annoyed another person. In their responses, they were given examples of having bad breath or needing to use more deodorant or talking too loudly on the phone and disturbing nearby workers or having some personality quirk that annoyed others. The people in this study almost unanimously agreed that they would prefer people to confront them directly and tell them exactly what the problem was without sugarcoating it so that they could address it. They felt they were quite capable of receiving constructive feedback and preferred it to having people be unhappy or annoyed or talking about them behind their backs. Everyone felt they were strong enough to face any direct criticism and were capable of evaluating any feedback to determine if it was valid or not and whether they should act on it or not. Then, the people in the study were given another test. They were asked how they would resolve a variety of problems with other people. If another person had bad breath or body odor or exhibited behaviors that annoyed or offended others, they were asked how they would address these issues. And here's the interesting part. The same people who said they preferred to be dealt with directly almost all felt that others were too sensitive to be spoken to directly or bluntly. They wrote that they would have to take careful steps to bring these matters to the other person's attention. Their responses included leaving unsigned notes on the person's desk or on their car windshield, sending anonymous letters by mail, or contacting the other person's spouse or friends and asking them to inform the person about these issues, or even gradually building up over time to actually talk to the person and make subtle suggestions for change or improvement. Most people think that others are too weak and can't handle direct conversation. That's why they use different tricks like avoiding the behavior and burying their feelings or being very careful not to hurt anyone's feelings when they bring up a problem. The fear of conflict is likely the biggest fear that both men and women have in our society today. It seems like people are completely scared at the thought of having to face another person for any reason and in almost any situation. To hide how they really feel, people often act like everything is fine and nothing is wrong, according to psychologists. They also repress their anger, which means they don't deal with the problem directly, but instead push it deep into their subconscious thoughts where they are not aware of it. Also, rejection is the most common psychological process. Denying something is not only the most common way that people avoid conflict and honesty, it's also probably the worst. When someone doesn't want to face something that makes them sad, they are in denial. Denial is a form of avoidance that causes a lot of stress in the mind and body. There is an old saying that goes, "The body shows what the mind holds." If someone ignores or refuses to deal with a small problem for a while, that person may eventually get a small illness. It looks like these are responses to someone feeling stressed and unappreciated. People may have a major illness if they are not facing or dealing with something important, which means they feel a lot of ego or shame about it. Complex tests, on the other hand, have shown that people who deal with their problems on a regular basis are mentally and physically healthier than those who avoid or ignore their problems in the hopes that they will go away or get better on their own. Therefore, that the ability to honestly face a stressful situation or a difficult person is an absolute prerequisite for self-confidence and self-esteem. So we ask ourselves, what causes a person to be afraid of confrontation? This takes us directly to the beginning of personality development in early childhood. Although each person has a certain temperament and a certain personality type that seems to have a genetic origin, virtually all of our behaviors, values, beliefs, fears, and attitudes are learned from early childhood. We learn to be afraid in the same way we learn to be brave. We learn to be positive and extroverted in the same way we learn to be negative and introverted. Everything we are or will ever be is the result of ideas or experiences we have had. These thoughts or ideas then mix with emotions and are deposited in our subconscious mind where they acquire their own power. When we are babies, we start without being afraid of anything or anyone. The baby will touch, taste, feel, smell, and delve into anything in an attempt to explore their surroundings. He or she is completely confident and willing to face anything that comes their way. This is the quality of having no fear and is your normal and natural birthright. You're born with it. Additionally, the child is completely spontaneous. The child laughs, cries, gurgles, jumps, and does whatever they please. The child is completely uninhibited and feels no need to please anyone. The child feels no pressure to conform to anyone's standards or requirements. And this state of being completely spontaneous and uninhibited is also your natural birthright. It is an inherent part of your personality. Well, one might wonder why so few adults retain this feeling of mental and emotional freedom as they grow up. This is the question, and the answer is not simple. When children are very young, many parents begin to make mistakes in trying to influence and control them negatively. The most common behavior parents use to direct and control their children is destructive criticism, often accompanied by physical punishment. Most parents have no idea how sensitive the growing child is or how significant their criticisms are to the young person's personality. If a child touches, tastes, and smells different things, often things that can be dangerous for the child, parents often yell and spank the child and tell them to stop and get away from there. Children will be afraid of anything new or different if they are constantly scolded or punished for exploring their surroundings. The child will have a fear of failing at anything new, different, or dangerous as they get older. Then, this fear of failing becomes the main thing that keeps people from succeeding as adults. If a kid got mean criticism as a child, they may be very nervous about doing or saying anything as an adult because they don't want to mess up. They will want to play it safe and avoid almost all chances. They will settle for a job that is below them, a relationship that isn't challenging, a group of friends that aren't interesting, and a lot of activities that are right in their comfort zone. Of course, no one says they won't do something because they're afraid of failing. That would be taking chances, which can lead to low self-esteem and fear of failing. Instead, they come up with extremely complex explanations and reasons for why they act the way they do. But there are always two reasons for doing anything. There's the reason that sounds good, and behind it, the real reason. And people tend to give a favorable interpretation to any action they take. They don't refuse to act. They always give you a good reason. But the real reason is often that the decision allows them to feel more secure and protected. It offers a greater protection for their self-esteem, allows them to stay within their comfort zone and not risk any kind of loss. It allows them to give in to the fear of failure and feel safe. Another effect of destructive criticism on the growing child is the feeling that he or she has value only to the extent that they do what mom or dad wants. This is called conditional love. Parents make it clear, often accidentally, that the only time they fully love and accept the child is when they perform up to their expectations. If you grow up feeling that one or both parents never fully loved you, you will naturally tend to believe it was because there was something inherently defective in you as a person. As an adult, you will believe that you are not good enough. A lot of grown-ups worry that they're not good enough. When they become adults, they have low self-esteem and always see the worst in themselves. They think that other people are smarter and more skilled than they are, so they compare themselves negatively to others. They often have a negative view of the past, focusing on the times they made mistakes or failed and forgetting the times they did well. A child often feels worthless as they grow up because they hear hurtful comments and think that one or both of their parents don't love them. When you don't think you're worth anything, you feel guilty. And guilt is now seen as the biggest mental problem of the 20th century. Parents will treat their children badly if they feel like they're not good enough as kids, and that person will act badly as an adult. No matter how much they want to be successful on the outside, they feel like they don't earn it, aren't worth it, or that it will be taken away if they get it. People who have worked very hard to get ahead in life often start to hurt themselves by drinking too much, using drugs, wasting time in their marriages, or doing other things that cause them to lose what they have worked so hard for. If you were raised with conditional love from a very young age, you will develop what is called a fear of rejection. This fear of rejection is the main obstacle to success and happiness in adult relationships. People who experience this fear of rejection worry excessively and often about the thoughts, feelings, and opinions of others. If they continue long enough, they reach the point where they cannot do or say anything for fear that someone else will not approve. Today, 90% of salespeople in the United States have some type of fear of rejection. As a result, they call fewer people, make worse presentations, ask for the order less frequently, and live lives that are far below what they are truly capable of achieving. These fears of rejection make them feel negative about themselves whenever someone criticizes them or anything that doesn't fully support them in what they do. Now you can see why the fear of honest confrontation is so prevalent in our society and why it undermines so much happiness and self-esteem. If you fear failure, you will fear making a mistake with another person. You will fear being shown that you're wrong and will avoid it at all costs. If you feel unworthy for any reason, you won't speak up when you disagree or in a tense situation involving other people because you really don't believe that your feelings and opinions are of much value. You will often allow people to ignore you and dismiss your concerns as unimportant. You'll have to go along to get along. If you had a happy, supportive, positive, and exciting childhood and grew up feeling wonderful about yourself, fearless, uninhibited, and full of self-confidence and self-esteem, then what we're talking about here probably doesn't apply to you. But if you are among the majority, those who have grown up with fear of failure and rejection, and with feelings of guilt and unworthiness, then you will know that these are truly the greatest obstacles to the self-confidence you need to deal effectively with difficult people. We analyze these fears in some detail because everything in this program aims to provide you with the specific tools you need to overcome these fears and inhibitions. With this knowledge, you will be better equipped to develop yourself and become unstoppable as a person in everything you do. What we are really talking about here is assertiveness. Assertiveness truly means the ability to be yourself and stand up for yourself in every human interaction, no matter the situation. Assertiveness is a skill, like typing or riding a bicycle, that can be learned with practice. The good news is that every time you behave assertively, the action itself makes you feel more effective, and your self-esteem and self-confidence increase. It's almost like a magic button you can press. But learning something as vital to success and happiness as assertiveness is not easy. When you try to learn something, you move out of your comfort zone and into your discomfort zone. Since your natural human tendency is to avoid discomfort of any kind at all costs, your natural inclination will be to retreat to your comfort zone. However, to grow, you must consciously resist this tendency and strive to push forward, even though the new behavior may feel a bit strange and uncomfortable at first. The fact is, if you are not willing to endure the period of discomfort that precedes competence and mastery, you will never learn, grow, or improve at anything. When you feel uncomfortable talking or doing something you haven't done before, work to ease your discomfort by getting better at what you're doing. Choose to stay the course instead of going back to your old ways. Do what you're told until the new behavior feels natural. You'll start to feel like you're getting better at what you're doing, and soon the new behavior will feel just as natural as the old one. The only difference is that you'll be much better at getting the results you want with the new behavior than with the old one. If you want to learn how to be more confident, pick someone you really like, respect, and want to be like. A lot of who you are is shaped by the people you look up to, whether you are aware of it or not. This means you should choose a leader, someone who is calm, sure of themselves, and a guide. When you're dealing with a tough person, think of your role model and ask yourself how they would handle this situation. It's amazing how much this will help and strengthen you. When I was in sales, for example, I always thought of General Patton with his aggressiveness and boldness. When dealing with another person, I try to think of Jesus or Albert and how kind and compassionate they could be. Many people create an entire series of role models they turn to in each area of their daily lives when necessary. Assertiveness basically means self-esteem. You're assertive to the extent that you truly like yourself, respect yourself, and consider your opinions and feelings valuable and worthy of consideration. The more you like yourself, the more naturally assertive you will be, and the more effective you will become when dealing with others, even the most difficult people. Assertiveness is a purely positive characteristic. There are two other behaviors that are on opposite sides of assertiveness. You need to be aware of them because we all tend to use them, and you see them demonstrated around you every day. The first of these behaviors is aggressiveness. Assertive behavior is not aggressive behavior. An aggressive person tends to be pushy, loud, demanding, domineering, and unpleasant. An aggressive person uses this behavior because it has been successful for them in the past. It has become a conditioned response. It is their first line of defense. Whenever they feel in a challenging situation, they become aggressive and start talking louder and faster in an attempt to overcome the opposition of the other party and get their way. Being aggressive is a bad habit that will fail in the end. One person tries to control another and get what they want without caring about what the other person gets. In this type of bargaining, the person who's being aggressive wins and the other person loses. A lack of self-esteem is often the cause of aggression, which is closely linked to a dominance complex. People who are aggressive often don't know what else to do besides being aggressive. So when that doesn't work, they just get even more aggressive. And they will often do the opposite if that doesn't work. They will pull away, pout, and refuse to do anything with you. A trait called passivity is at the other end of the behavior range. If you're quiet, you let other people do what they want, even if it's not in your best interest. When someone is deeply afraid of being rejected or feels useless, they often choose to be passive in any situation with other people. For any reason, they would rather be sad and angry inside than speak up and deal with someone. Not having much respect for yourself can also make you passive. The passive person doesn't think they are very important, so their view shouldn't be taken into account. In the middle is assertiveness. The assertive person is neither passive nor aggressive. He or she is calm, positive, and firm. The assertive person knows exactly what they want and at the same time respects the rights and demands of others. The assertive person prefers to negotiate, compromise, and reach a solution that is acceptable to all parties. The assertive person is calm, persistent, and very clear about their goals. And the assertive person is the most successful and effective when dealing with difficult people. The first step to assertive behavior is to accept full responsibility for yourself and what you want. So use the word I instead of the word you. Be willing to say things like, I want, I need, I think, I feel, and in my opinion, it seems to me, or I'm not happy with the existing situation. By taking responsibility for your emotions, you can say something like, I feel unhappy or angry when you say or do such and such. In each case, you firmly maintain control by taking responsibility for yourself and your feelings and clearly expressing what you think and feel. You're not overbearing or compromising. You are merely assertive. You do not blame or criticize. You simply state your truth calmly and without emotion. Being understanding and asking questions are good ways to be forceful when people are complaining. People find it hard to stay angry for a long time when you ask them questions and pay close attention to their answers. I understand exactly how you feel is one of the most powerful things you can say to calm someone down. I would feel the same way if I were in your shoes. Being ready to understand the other person can sometimes help you get through a tough situation. A lot of the time, all someone needs is to know that someone's trying to understand how well they feel. If you want to stay strong when things get tough, make sure you mentally get ready for them ahead of time. Practice in your mind. Think about what's going on and picture yourself reacting in a calm and quiet way. Imagine that you are calm and in charge of the talk. You could also use a method known as broken record. To be bold in this way, you just have to say the same thing over and over until it is understood. It is. This method works great for telling a child what to do or not do, or for training an employee. Your kid is told to clean up their room. The kid wants to fight, play, or watch TV and then clean up the room. And there are a million reasons why you shouldn't make them. Say something like, I hear what you're saying, but I need you to clean your room right now. And say the same words over and over again, no matter what the child says. After hearing the same words over and over, the other person will finally understand and stop fighting. They will then start working together. This works just as well for adults in most cases. Another powerful assertiveness technique is the use of silence. Often people say things to provoke a comment or to get your agreement. You can often respond very effectively by saying nothing. If the other person tries to get you to say something, simply say, I have nothing to say at this moment. One of the best assertiveness techniques is the use of delay. My Japanese counterparts taught me a few years ago that delay is the cruelest form of denial. Instead of saying no and getting into an argument, or saying yes and later finding out it was a wrong decision, simply postpone the decision and ask for time to think about it. If a person wants you to contribute time or money to a worthy cause and you're not sure you care enough, simply delay making a decision. Tell the other person that this is an important decision and you would like some time to reflect on it. When you refuse to be rushed or forced into saying or doing something, you feel much more in control of yourself and your life. Your self-esteem rises. You feel more effective and your self-confidence increases. More than anything, due to the law of reversibility, if you adopt the behaviors of a very confident, assertive, and positive person, the actions themselves will actually create the feelings, beliefs, and values that go with them. By doing what you would do if you were exactly the person you would like to be, you will eventually become that person. By using the other ideas you are learning in this course and practicing techniques like the broken record, silence, delay, and taking responsibility, when dealing with difficult people, you will become more positive and assertive and eventually become a superior person with a superior personality. And the more effective you are at handling a wide range of behaviors at home and at work, the greater will be your self-confidence. Let us take forth a fresh sense of empowerment and knowledge as we finish our conversation on handling challenging people. Recall that how we handle the most difficult contacts typically reveals our actual degree of leadership and character. Applying the techniques we have discussed today, empathy, good communication, and emotional intelligence, we may negotiate these interactions with assurance and grace. Think back on the tools and ideas we discussed. Think about how you could apply them in your daily life to turn possible disputes into chances for development and cooperation. Difficult individuals inspire us to grow in patience, resilience, and interpersonal skills rather than only challenges to be conquered. I urge you to adopt the mindset of a real leader, one who seeks to understand before being understood, who responds with calmness rather than with frustration, and who views every difficult contact as an opportunity to create stronger, more positive relationships as you leave here today. I appreciate your interest and attentiveness. May the ideas we have covered help you in all of your contacts toward more peace and prosperity. Let's use the difficulty of handling challenging people as a road towards both personal and professional development, therefore fostering a more cooperative and sympathetic society for all.